living with me in the household, and he said, he said some kids get scared, some kids, kind of back down from their fathers. He said, you used to buck up, so I had to bring you back into line, and that's actually that's a biological concept. It's not just him. Actually, even in the animal kingdom, even mammals, all mammals, humans, elephants, rhinos, whatever, and bears, all that shit, they need to have male mentorship. You need older male mentorship in order for the young bucks to be under control. There was a wildlife reserve where they used to take all the elephants, all the baby elephants and their mothers, when the fathers would be hunted for their tusks. The fathers would be hunted and killed for their tusks. And so these were traumatized, kids, because elephants are very emotional. In case you've never seen a video about it, like elephants will sit there and they'll cry if one of their parents dies, things like that. So these traumatized little teenage elephants were taken to this wildlife reserve, and they didn't understand something. There was something weird going on where they kept finding all these dead rhinos, and the rhinos, they eventually discovered they were in a helicopter and they were flying over, and nobody could figure out what's going on. Why are all these animals being just murdered? Like, we got a serial killer on this reserve, and according to the laws of nature, these animals are supposed to live in harmony. And so what they did was they were flying over the reserve in a helicopter one day, and they looked down and they saw this herd of adolescent elephants. You see, when elephants become adolescents, it's like in a black household, or any household. When the teenager gets about 15, 16, he don't want to hang out under his mother anymore. He wants to go kick it with his boys. So basically, elephants do the same thing. When they get to become teenagers or adolescents, they want to go kick it with their boys. They don't want to hang on to their mom. And their mom was like, go play with your friends. So these elephants were forming gangs. Just like, Chicago, you got the gangs out in the South Side, West Side, just like you got Crips and Bloods. Well, you had, you elephant gangs that would form. And these elephants would go and do what young adolescents do. Adolescents do when they act a fool. You ever see when adolescents kind of go crazy and just wild out? Well, what they really are actually doing from a biological standpoint is they are testing their strength. And so, in fact, it made me, I remember they used to do the knockout game where the teenagers would just run up and find somebody and just punch them as hard as they could, see if they could knock them out with one punch. Well, that's testing their strength. Well, now I didn't test my strength by knocking people out, but I remember me and my friends testing our strength by seeing who could jump up and grab the basketball rim. Any guys ever did that where you were, 16, 17 and you were proud that you could jump up and touch the net, touch the rim, and some of y'all could dunk? I almost dunk, actually. If you gave me a little ball, I had to be able to palm the ball. But if I had a little ball, I could actually get up high enough to dunk it. Now, I was proud of that because I was only 5'8", so I had a little bit of hops. I can't jump now for shit, but back then I could jump. Anyway, that's what adolescents do. They test their strength. And when they test their strength, that's when you see confrontations. That's when you see, chaos. Sometimes you see violence, etc. And also teenagers by definition are kind of antisocial. Honestly, they're just sort of like to do stuff that's different and wild just because it's different and wild. They don't want to do what everybody else is doing. Well, anyway, these elephants would form these little gangs, and when they would form these gangs, they would go and, kill the other animals. They would test their strength by, they were in this helicopter and they saw this gang of elephants. And what they do is they surrounded this rhino like a gang, and they bullied the rhino. And the rhino was trying to figure out, which way do I go? How do I get out of this? And they just killed him right there on the spot. And so they shot the elephants that were involved, and they investigated. They were like, why is it that these elephants are going around and mass murdering all the other animals? It doesn't make any sense. They're not supposed to do this. And what they found was that, the elephants, the reason that they were forming gangs and the reason that they were going around killing the other animals and doing things that were completely unnatural was because they had no male role models. You see, what happened was when their fathers got killed, they would bring the mother and the baby to the reserve. And they thought that that was just okay. But they forgot that they needed the fathers. And because the fathers were the ones who kept those little sons of bitches in check. You see, you need the OGs in the community to keep the young guys under control. That's why guys like Jim Brown are so important out in South Central, because Jim Brown was the OG that, he used to be a very strong man when he was younger. I mean, Jim Brown was the ultimate alpha male in every way, and as he got older, he gained that respect because of who he was and his stature, and he could bring the men together in a way that their mothers couldn't, right? Louis Farrakhan is a very strong man that young men respect. So he can bring men together in ways that their mothers can't. He can take a man that was hooked on crack, did 10 years in prison, and murdered a couple of people, and get that man, make him into the strongest, most upright human being that you've ever met in your life. And that's a difficult task. Most people cannot pull that off. Nagging from his mama and his aunties ain't gonna do it the way one conversation with Minister Farrakhan or grandfather or a strong male he respects could pull that off, right? So you need the OGs, right? So for me, I always respected the strong older black men. I think about guys like W.C. Benton back at Ohio State, who was the guy who literally was responsible for helping me get through my PhD program. Those white folks wanted me out of there. They really, I was raising hell. I was talking shit. I was getting into arguments with them about racism because it was a racist place. They didn't have any black people anywhere. It's like, you're racist. What the hell? But this guy really stood up for me. And I remember, I respect this man because he said to me, I remember he told me, we were talking about racism and fighting white folks and all that. And he said, I'm a Marine. He said, when I was a Marine, he said, we were taught that, no matter what the situation is, you fire your gun until you have no more bullets left in the clip. He said, even if you're surrounded, you keep shooting. He said, even if you're going to die, you keep shooting. Even if you can't win, you go out fighting, you go out bloody and burning. And I said, okay, that's real. I like that. Either live in glory or you die in glory, but you never live in subjugation. You either live in glory or you die in glory, but you never allow yourself to live or die in subjugation, right? So that was my philosophy. That was who I wanted to be. So that's why when I lay out my Mount Rushmore of black men that I look up to, the OGs that I respect, it's strong black men like Louis Farrakhan, strong black men like Dr. Claude Anderson, strong black men like Kenny Gamble, who had to go in there and literally use, pull rank and use power to take control of a previously uncontrollable section of Philadelphia and establish what he has. Strong black men like Rock Newman, who I'm actually going to go see out in DC. I'm going to be on the Rock Newman show, I think some point in the middle of December. I don't know the exact date, but I'm going out there. And I'm going out there to be on his show because when me and Rock talk, I feel like I'm talking to someone I can understand and relate to. I can't relate to a coon. I can't sit on the phone with somebody who tells me I have to bow and scrape and beg and tickle the white man's balls in order to survive. I can't do that. I respect those OGs that really give you good advice, that teach you how to go through life and survive as a man, as a real man. And that's very important for black men because, and maybe that's why some of you young guys listen to me. I don't know. I know that I connect with a lot of young guys who are doing different things, different backgrounds, etc. I connect a lot with soldiers. I connect a lot with soldiers because I talk about strategies, battle plans, execution, and not sitting around crying like a little bitch just because you feel that white people are winning the race, or crying like, like whining like a little girl because a white man won't give you a job. I don't know nothing about that. I don't see that as a viable, acceptable option. Maybe there are people out there who think that if I cry a lot, then white people will eventually come and help me, but they don't understand nature. They don't understand how this game works. You see, the thing is, in this game, in this world, you are in a battle all the time. You are always in a fight. And then when you start winning, if you start getting ahead, the fight only gets more intense. When you see a black person that rises up, you always have haters sitting back there throwing darts and arrows at your head. And if you can't handle that, then you need to get off the throne and go sit down on the floor so that you don't feel so much pressure. But because this space up here at the top, whether you're talking about fighting as a community to be at the top of the economic game, or you talk about as an individual trying to get to the top of the game in terms of your own individual achievements, the air gets super thin at the top. And people will throw darts like crazy, and it's up to you to decide what kind of man or what kind of woman am I going to be? What kind of person am I right now? If you can't handle that, then, it is what it is, because I get in fights all the time. I mean, you can't, I remember one time, it's really funny. there was a guy, there was a white billionaire. It's really fascinating. White, and this guy was interesting because he was, I don't meet many white billionaires, right? But this guy was interesting because he didn't really care anything about, you know, my opinions on race. He was more like a libertarian, so he wasn't Democrat, Republican. He was about making that paper, and he was also about having that power. He didn't really give a shit, you know, like what you thought about the Democrats or the Republicans. He's like, all of them are full of shit. He said, I know how the game is played. I know how all people get manipulated. He said, I know these people. It's all stupid. But one thing he was talking to me about was he was talking about Bank of America and how the Italian community, because he saw what I did, and he said, I like what you're doing. He said, you know, you really understand finance at a high level. I said, yeah, you know, that's what my PhD's in. And he said, you know, it's funny. I hear what you're saying, and what it makes me think about is how the Italians created Bank of America in order to establish power. Most people don't even know that Bank of America was started by the Italian community as a power move. And he said, you know, now the thing is, Boyce, he said, if you're doing what you're doing, he said, just understand that like they're okay with black people, you know, whining about civil rights. He said they're okay with black people marching and trying to get jobs. He said that's not really a threat. He said, but when you're talking about really playing the economic game and taking real power, you're gonna have opposition. You're gonna have all different kinds of things happening, you know, all things coming at you that you can't even understand. And he said, so that required you to be really strategic and really strong. And one thing that he said that was really interesting was he said, it's almost like going to war. He said, you can't run up and invade the beaches of Normandy and come out shooting your machine gun and then have your feelings hurt because they're shooting back at you. He said, they're going to shoot back at you because you're shooting at them. So when you're making real power moves in your community, you know, you're shooting at them. You're taking something away from them. So what's going to eventually happen is they're going to come back at you with everything they've got. And if you can't withstand that, then you shouldn't be in the game, right? So ultimately, what I would say to you, black people, is, you know, if you're not ready for the fight, then you should probably sit to the side and let other people do the fighting. You know, because I'm going to tell you like this. People, you know, I've heard people say, you know, why should we build a Black Wall Street? You know, it doesn't make any sense, Dr. Boyce, to build a Black Wall Street because, last time we built one, they burned it down. And I said, well, why wouldn't they? You know, if they could, why wouldn't they? If they could stop us, why wouldn't they try to stop us? If the New England Patriots are scoring, lots of touchdowns against the Philadelphia Eagles, why wouldn't the Philadelphia Eagles do everything they can to stop the New England Patriots from trying to score touchdowns, right? And so at the end of the day, what I think we got to understand is that, you know, when you're in that game, you're gonna have the oppressor coming back at you with everything they've got. In the Vietnam War, remember, during the Vietnam War, the American soldiers were confused. The American government was very confused because they could not understand how the Viet Cong, you know, this little tiny third world country, how the Viet Cong could literally fight back against this military superpower. How could they, you know, they would go and they said, we're going to destroy their morale. We're going to bomb the shit out of them. We're going to bomb them so much that they have to quit because we're just going to blow up everything. We're going to kill civilians. We're going to blow up their rice paddies. We're going to blow up their factories. We're going to blow up their bridges. We're going to blow up their roads. We're going to blow up everything that they've got so that they will eventually surrender and say, I'm sorry, massa, please forgive me. We're done. Now, here's what's fascinating. They dropped more bombs on the Viet Cong than all the bombs dropped during World War II by every country combined. Did you know that? That they literally dropped more bombs on North Vietnam than all the bombs dropped by every country in World War II combined. All on one motherfucking country, one tiny little third world country. Think about that. If you add up all the bombs dropped in World War II by Germany, France, England, Russia, all these countries, all spread out throughout the world now, all through Europe and parts of Africa and all that. If you take all those bombs that were dropped, and remember, Hiroshima and Nagasaki occurred during World War II. If you add up all those bombs and all that damage, they did more on tiny little North Vietnam than all of that combined by every country put together. And they still could not understand, despite all these bombs they dropped, how every time they blew up a bridge, that shit would be rebuilt in 48 hours. Every time they blew up a road, that road would be recarved within a couple of days. They were like, what is going on? This doesn't make any sense. This is insanity. And they asked them 30 years later, they finally got to interview everybody from the Vietnam War, from the North and the South, you know, the communists and the ones fighting with the Americans. And they asked them, they said, how did you do that? How did you sustain all that? And they said, we had a saying. Our saying was, if they blow it up, we will rebuild. If they blow it up again, we will rebuild again. And I said, God damn, that is something that Black people need to write down and put that shit on our wall. We need to write that down and put it on our wall, because the reality is that, you know, like Mike Tyson said, remember he said, everybody's got a plan until you get hit in the mouth. Well, you know, I know a lot of Negroes that got a plan until they get hit in the mouth, because the stuff, the shit coming out of their mouth is all they got. All they got is this yapping. All they got is the yapping and the talking, or the marching and the praying. So when you hit them in the mouth, pop, they like, ooh. Remember, you ever see a little kid get hit? You ever see a little kid talking shit? You ever see it? I love it. I love it. You ever watch, you see those videos where some kid is bullying another kid, and the kid getting bullied is real quiet, and he's trying to walk away, he's trying to avoid conflict, and the kid's like talking shit and blah, 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 and then the little kid just goes off and just, whop! Like, I remember seeing a video like that, and the kid's like punched him straight in the mouth, and all of a sudden, this big bully goes into straight bitch mode. It's like, and you know how little kids cry when they get hit real hard? It's like he froze for a minute because he was shocked. And he goes, ah! He starts crying, right? Like, that's literally what happens. And unfortunately, that's a lot of your leaders. A lot of Black people got a big plan until they get hit in the mouth. And so my question is, for you, you know, when you go through life and you're trying to achieve your goals, and you got these big master plans, how you're going to go conquer the world, and you're going to finally do it because you're all motivated and everything, I need to ask you this question. What's going to happen when life hits you in the mouth? You know, when everything that you believe in, everything that you think you're building, every goal that you think you have gets crushed right before your very eyes. That is when, it's only when you're at the bottom looking up that you really understand and find out what you're really made of. That will reveal it's like a naked, it's like being emotionally naked. That is the moment where you will say, God damn, who am I right now? That's when you're gonna find out, right? So anyway, with that said, if you're on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up button. And also, since I'm talking about a financial topic, I'm gonna put on my Black Finance Professor hat. So I literally have a hat that says Black Finance Professor. So as you know, I have a PhD in finance. So I'm gonna use that PhD to analyze something for you in a way that no one else will do it, to help you understand how you can apply this to your life, and how we as Black people want to think about, you know, economics, particularly as it connects to our liberation and our happiness and our humanity as human beings. Like, all this comes back to freedom and liberation, and really a sense of well-being. You know, happiness is all that matters at the end of the day. If you're not happy, I don't care if you make $10 million. If you ain't happy and you feel like a slave, then you didn't win the game. I know some $10 million a year slaves. So don't think that having money will automatically free you. You got to be free in a multitude of ways in order for that to work. So let me show you all this video. As I pull this video up, if you want, by the way, if you want to get a text message for me to let you know when I go live, please text my name, Boyce, B-O-Y-C-E, to 31996. Just text the word Boyce to 31996. You can do that right now while I pull this video up if you want to. Also, I will be in Houston on the 8th of December. So if you live in H-Town and you want to come out, seats are limited. We don't have that much space, but the tickets are donation only. You don't have to pay to come in. You pay whatever you can. We ask you to pay something because we can't use the money to pay for the venue because this stuff ain't free. But to make sure everybody has a chance to come out, we made the tickets donation only. So if you want to come in and donate $2, you can come. But I hope you'll donate like maybe 20 or something like that. You know, like, cause I know y'all making it rain on white folks. You know, make it rain on the Black people that actually care about you. And Dr. Venetia Dutra does care. And I'm actually going out there to support her fundraising effort. She's actually created something similar to the Tulsa Fund. It's called Brown Equity Properties. And Brown Equity Properties is going to invest heavily in real estate, lots of flips, Airbnbs, things like that. I'm going to invest, just like with Jay Morrison's Tulsa Fund, I invested $10,000 in that. I'm going to also invest in Dr. Dutra's fund, because I think also it's not just a matter of making a good investment to make money, but also we got to support our women. We have to support Black women in the things that they're doing. We can't just have a male version of a Jay Morrison. We must support the female Jay Morrisons that are out here. So Danielle Pierce, you guys have seen me support her. Dr. Venetia Dutra, you've seen me support her. And also my main man, Andre Hatchett, co-founder of Black Men United. I'm supporting his real estate funds as well. So basically, at the end of the day, remember the 3 pillars of wealth. The 3 pillars of wealth are stock and bond investing, real estate investing, and entrepreneurship. So your children must, at an early age, be connected to the 3 pillars of wealth. If you are interested in training your children on this, we have a Black Business School for kids that would be a great gift for Christmas at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. And for Christmas, we're actually giving a 75% discount off a lifetime membership. So if you want to put your kid in there, make them a lifetime member, you can go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. You can find that discount. Now let me show you this video. This is the OG I told you about. I never forgot this man. I met him in 2016, and I think I was speaking for the National Black Business. What the hell? I want to say the Black Business Bureau, but that ain't even right. Black Chamber of Commerce. That's what it was. I was the speaker at the conference for the National Black Chamber of Commerce. And I remember, I'll never forget this. When I get invited to events like that, I get a little bit nervous for the people that invite me, because I get people fired. I get Black people fired, because I keep it very real. I'll talk about reparations. I can back up everything I say. So I'm an intelligent Black man who's not scared of white people, which pretty much will get you fired. So don't, so my thing is like, don't bring me in your space if that's going to mess up your game. If you're doing the, like, what do you call it? What do they call it? Code switching. Yes. If you have to master code switching to keep your job, so, or somehow be an undercover brother, like, don't bring me in, because I don't know how to be an undercover brother. I'm not fit for slavery. So so I warned the guy. I said, "Are you sure you want me in there? Because I know you got those corporate types and you got the white folks that are backing you." And he said, "I want you to come up there. I want you to keep it real. And I love what you do." And I said, "Okay, let's do it. Let's make it happen." And so I gave the speech, and it was great. I walked out feeling really good. I felt connected to the people. I got in the car and I started talking to this man. And this man was somebody I felt so excited about what he was saying that I said, I got to record this, because this man this is the knowledge, man. This is what we need as Black people. Fuck what you're learning in these goddamn white schools out here. I'm cussing again. I don't know. It's too early to be cussing. I'm going to stop. I promise. I'm going to try, because some of y'all got kids watching. I apologize. But seriously, man, this is the knowledge. This is what we need. This is who we need to be hearing from, not, Miss Becky Sally from the suburbs who's teaching your kids a bunch of nonsense about George Washington and Christopher Columbus. You need to hear from the OGs. You need to hear from your strong Black men. You need to hear from your Black women that really have your back. These people that you sending your kids to be educated by are lying to them. They're lying to, and they're ruining them. It's like taking a perfectly healthy vegetable and putting it in the fucking sewer. And then you wonder why all the food is rotten. You wonder why all our kids are in the school to prison pipeline. You wonder why they graduating from school and can't read, can't spell the word NBA. Seriously, can't even spell. You say, how you spell NBA? C, 2, 12. Seriously, I mean, it's driving me crazy. They're not educating your kids because that's part of the game. They don't want. They're literally saying, hand us your children, because that's the future competition, and let us ruin them for you. And then we're going to hand them back to you, broken, fucked up, humiliated, screwed up, miseducated. And then you're going to wonder why you're always in last place, because you keep handing us your children. So anyway, I listen to the OGs. I don't listen to the white folks anymore. But then again, I'm 47. I figured this out over time. I'm telling you this now so that your child can learn this at 7 instead of 47. That's why I'm telling you this, because remember, you're the first teacher. The mother's the first teacher. The father's the second teacher. You teach your child. You become the dominant force in their learning. You bring the OGs into this space. Bring grandma, big mama around. My knowledge, my wisdom I got from my grandmother was worth 1,000 college professors. That what she gave me before she died, rest her soul. I love my grandmother. I think about her all the time. But what she gave me in her life, love and wisdom, you just can't put a dollar value on that. That's worth 20 college degrees. So anyway, let me play this video. So all right, so here you go. Check it out. Let me turn the volume up so you guys can hear it. Here it is.
What's your name, bro?
Marlon Jackson.
Marlon Jackson. Just like the dates from the Jackson 5.
That's like Marlon Jackson. I was here first.
Oh, okay. You were here
first. Named after him.
And you said you're 62 years young,
and I never had a job. I just go live where there's an economy.
Wow.
As consumers, that's what you need if you have a product or service, somebody who can buy it.
So you weren't looking for a check or a job. You was looking for a consumer.
I'm looking for some money.
All right. So and you learned at an early age that you don't need a job to get money.
Well, I saw my dad, who was a strong Leo man, worked at the steel mill. And what happened was they laid everybody off when the Vietnam War went over, and all these men became punks and weak, and the women were taking care of them. And I said to myself, man, I'm not going to give nobody a chance to fire me.
Wow.
And I'm not going to do it, because it broke my heart to see my dad, become this, because all he knew was steel. He didn't know anything. They didn't train him to do anything else. And he died early at 55. I mean, it really, that's when the wino got started, because all these guys who got laid off would just sit around drinking wine and playing checkers, and you know what I'm saying?
Right, wow.
And just giving up on life because they didn't know what else to do.
Wow. So for you, being an entrepreneur wasn't just about money, it was about preserving your manhood.
Yeah, man, I'm not a good man. I can't work for nobody.
I love it.
I can't have a boss.
All right, man. I love it.
My kids got something to do. I want to go see it. I don't need to go to nobody to ask for permission.
Right on. So did you feel like the majority of the men have that mindset? Do you think it's the opposite, that the majority?
Well, I think we mess our little man up because we tell them to get a job, we tell them they need to work, and those are slave terms. We need to tell our young kids, you need to make some money. So their minds will open up and they can start innovating, because it's hard to get a job when 10 million people are applying for the same job. And we do this to our kids, man, and these kids almost like, I'd rather go smoke some weed.
Wow.
Than try to compete with a bunch of everybody with applications standing in line for 2 or 3 days, you know what I mean? And they could have been using that same time to go out here and wash windows or clean cars. I know a guy at the car wash up here makes $400 a day. He just sits out there. People come consumers who don't want to clean their own car.
Wow.
And he makes about $20 a car, and he's making $400 a day. He don't have no overhead, but you just got to make money so that we can free our mind.
Wow.
Because work and job are slave words. That's what slaves do.
Wow, man, you preaching. It's funny. Did you catch the speech I gave?
No, I didn't.
That's what's funny. You didn't hear the speech. I was talking about this, but you didn't hear preaching.
I know Ron. I'm his personal assistant. So
okay.
Ron's from Oakland. I'm from Philly. I'm Malcolm X. He's Black Panther.
Wow.
So we get it,
man.
We're just trying to get everybody else to get it.
Well, you preaching to me, man, and I learned a lot of my manhood from the big brothers like yourself that teach me what manhood really looks like. We don't.
If you don't mind,
please.
I do taxes, and the people who work for all these years, man, by the time they get retired, they're so beat up from working all them years, and they ain't making as much money, and they're like the slave that you said, you're free now. And then you tell the retired person, you're free now, you ain't got to work no more. Man, they got to figure out what to do with 10 hours a day.
Wow, and
that ain't easy.
And no skill in terms of how to make their own money.
How to do something else.
Wow, man.
Then they end up working at Walmart.
All right, I'm gonna let you get that call, man. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back. I want to analyze a few key points on this video. This man, I don't know this brother, Marlon Jackson. I was gonna say I didn't know his name, but that would be stupid because he just said his name. And he was the driver for a guy named Ron. I don't remember Ron's last name, but I remember Ron was the head of the Black Chamber of Commerce, the national head. He was, doing really well, and I really respected the fact that Ron, in his capacity, because that's a tough position to navigate because you're dealing with a lot of different worlds. That he had a guy like Marlon as his driver, friend, confidant, and everything else. That tells me a lot about you. Like when I met the CEO of the Jordan brand, Larry Miller, I evaluated him by his backstory, who his friends were. That's how I get a sense of who you really are, like how you're really thinking underneath the surface. That's how I look at politicians, everybody. So you can tell a lot about a person by who they have around them. And the fact that he had a man around him who thinks that way really spoke volumes about what kind of person he is. And so what I would say is that in this conversation, there are a couple things that really stood out to me. The biggest thing that stood out was when Marlon told the story about his father. When he told the story about how his father worked at the steel mill, you know, his daddy had a good job. You know, you hear a lot of black people saying you want to grow up and get a good job. I heard that growing up, you know, and his daddy had a good job at the steel mill. And what happened was what always happens, especially when you don't understand how the business game is played, especially when you're black, you know, was that the job disappeared. You know, the steel mills all left and they went off to other countries. All the leading politicians played a part in this. Bill Clinton signed NAFTA, which sent a lot of those jobs out. That's why when you go to places like Gary, Indiana, and Milwaukee and Dayton, Ohio, places like that, they used to be booming. Detroit, a lot of those jobs are not there anymore, right? And then what then happens is these communities fall into disrepair and decay because the people that have these good jobs don't have other skill sets. Right? They weren't prepared to do anything other than serve a white man in a factory. You understand? You know, it's almost like in the movie Coming to America when you had Eddie Murphy getting married and this woman, remember this woman, the woman, she was like, she was hopping on one foot and barking like a dog because she said you know, he said, so what do you like? She said, whatever you like. You know, like, what do you like to do? Whatever you like to do, right? And then next thing you know, she's humiliating herself because she's hopping on one leg and barking like a dog because all she's been trained to do her whole entire life is to be his wife and serve him. You know, so she's devastated when he says, I don't want to marry you, right? She doesn't know what to do. She's like, wait a minute, I have one profession and that profession is to serve you, right? So here you have this beautiful black woman who could have been married to anybody, right? She was hot as hell. And I think was it Cheryl Lee Ralph or am I just making that up? Because I was on a radio show with Cheryl Lee Ralph one time. But anyway, this beautiful black woman who could have been married to anybody, who had a million options, who could have had a million options, but she was trained to believe that she only had one option. And that was to marry the prince and to serve him until the day she died. So for black people, it's the same way. You know, we grow up, we raise our children to believe that just like this woman in Coming to America, you're supposed to do one thing in your life. You are trained and prepared to do one thing, and that is to get a good job and to serve your master for life. To just do this thing over and over and over again every day for 100,000, however many days there are. I don't. If there's 8,000. Wait, scratch that. I said 100,000. That's hours, not days, right? So, but I think it was 8,760 hours in a year, about 88,000 hours in a decade. So for several 100,000 hours to pretty much do the same thing to serve white people and to serve their corporations. And so what happens is that again, like us, we show up like the lady in Coming to America. We show up looking good, fully well prepared. Our parents have groomed us since birth to serve the white man. And the white man says, well, what do you like to do, Negro? And we say, whatever you like. Because we're trying to get that job, right? We're trying to kiss enough ass. We like, if I tickle your balls right, I can get me the good corner office and make the good money, right? And they say, well, what do you like to do, Negro? Say, whatever you like to do. And then he's like, oh, well, he's looking at you like, okay, I got this bitch wrapped around my finger. I got him. I thought he was a man, but he ain't no man because he's serving me, like a little punk, right? So then they're like, okay, bark like a dog. And we're like, roof, roof, roof. Oh no, it's just like, arf, 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 right? And then they're like, bark like a big dog. And we're like, woof, woof, woof. And you're like, okay, make it sound like an orangutan. And we're like, ooh, 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 hop on one leg. And we're like, ooh, 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 ooh. Why? Because we're trying to do whatever we can in this dog and pony and monkey show, right? We're doing this pony, monkey, dog show, whatever you want to call it, to impress them enough for them to help us fulfill our purpose. And our purpose is to serve them. That's what we were raised to do since birth, right? I remember a football player, Vince Young. And I remember after he won the national championship for the University of Texas, he was on the cover of ESPN, the magazine, and he literally, the words in the cover, if I'm not mistaken, was something like, I was born to play quarterback for the University of Texas. And at that moment, I felt very bad for this young man, despite the fact that he had just won the national championship, because I said, my God, he's invested a lot in these white institutions, if they ever decide they don't want him anymore, this motherfucker ain't gonna know what to do. And so that's why you see a lot of athletes kill themselves. They either kill themselves quickly or some of them kill themselves slowly when they can't play sports anymore. Because all you've been trained to do, like the princess in Coming to America, is to serve white folks by entertaining them by running up and down the field to catch a football or whatever it is, right? And then what happens when the Seattle Seahawks decide they don't want you anymore, you're sitting at home, you're like, damn, I've been using steroids. I have all this brain damage. My legs, knees, and ankles don't work anymore. I don't have a job. I can't read. I guess I'm gonna just sit around and do what the OG was talking about. You know, he said that's when the wino came along, right? Because these men, when they don't have any value anymore, and it's women too, it's not just the men, you know, but when you don't feel like you have any value anymore, because your one purpose has been denied you, you know, you've been trained to serve the prince, and you did everything you were supposed to do, and you did everything that white folks told you to do that was going to help you be successful, right? You went to the top universities, you made good grades, you were very well behaved, you fit the code, you did exactly what they wanted you to do, you filled out your resume the right way, you didn't misbehave, you didn't act crazy like a Boyce Watkins and get yourself fired, you did everything they wanted you to do, and then they reject you anyway, and then you have nowhere to go. Right? And that is about as depressing of a life as you can possibly imagine. And so what he said was, he said that's when the wino came along, because the guys had no self-worth. The guy didn't say, well, God, I could still be a great husband and father. You know, he just sat around and drinking liquor all day. You know, he didn't say, gosh, I could get with my friends, my other unemployed friends, and we can go start a great business together as black men. No, he just sat around drinking liquor all day. Did you know ESPN, one of the analysts at ESPN, I know a guy who's an analyst, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to get this brother fired, but an analyst at ESPN told me that the reason that they put so many black people like Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp and others on the morning shows is because they said, we noticed that black men are home in the morning on a regular basis because they can't go out and get jobs. That a lot of black men the unemployment rate for black males is incredibly high. So we had this captive audience of guys sitting at home, drinking beer, watching ESPN all day. And that's how they decided to put so many black people on the morning shows. Because everybody else is at work. Everybody else is out doing something. A lot of your black men, some of y'all got men like that in your family. You might have an uncle in the basement right now. You know, you need to show him this video. I hope I don't hurt his feelings. But he's sitting in the basement right now, maybe watching ESPN and talking about whether the Dallas Cowboys won or the big win that the Cowboys had over the Saints last Thursday, right? So my point in all this is to say that at the end of the day, you can't just train your child to be a one-trick pony because they're going to have your child when they're 30, 40 years old, barking like an orangutan, hopping on one leg, and then they're still going to kick him out of the building because they have no respect for you at that point. You see, you might think that bowing is going to increase the likelihood that you'll get what you want, but sometimes it decreases the likelihood of you getting what you want because nobody respects somebody who begs, especially a man. Nobody respects you if you're begging. So anyway, do this. Let me stop for a second. Please hit the thumbs up button if you're on YouTube. Take 1 second, please. Hit that thumbs up button. Also, a reminder, I'll be in Houston December 8th. If you want to know more, I don't know if I mentioned the URL or not. I know I talked about it. I don't know if I mentioned the URL. It's drboycehouston.com. That's drboycehouston.com. Also, last but not least, some of you have asked about our curriculum for children, our financial curriculum for children. They are available. They're ready. They're on sale. You can go check them out. Go to financialworkbooks.com. That's financialworkbooks.com. Our financial flashcards for children are at financialflashcards.com. So in that store, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. So we got books and all kinds of stuff, educational tools so you can educate your own kids. We work with black experts who built all different kinds of stuff so that you can decide if you want to go ahead and use our tools to educate your kids. Just either way, make sure your kids get what they need. Make sure your kids get what they need. All right, so Michael says, fuck ESPN. Yeah, I agree with you. Atiba says, when are you coming to the DC area? Actually, I'm coming to DC for the Rock Newman show. I won't be doing any events there because I want to actually get back home to the Queen. I got a beautiful black woman that waits for me, and I hate having to leave her for long periods of time. in order to go do other stuff. I kind of would rather be by her side because that's really where I feel happiest and safe and more fulfilled. And she's very smart. She's a scholar. So if you're a black man, get you a black woman that's as smart as you or maybe smarter than you, but you got to make sure that your ego can handle it. I see a lot of men who can't handle an intelligent or successful woman. And I think you lose when you do that. When you're a man, you want to be around people that can give you good advice and good counsel, who can tell you when you need to slow your roll. You know, like she actually keeps me balanced because there will be times where I'll be pissed off about something or whatever, and she does exactly what a woman does when she's at her best, which is she kind of soothes the savage beast. You know, I'll get mad, I'll be like, that motherfucker, blah, blah, blah. And she'll be like, come on, boys, come here, just lay on my lap, and she'll rub my head, you know, like a little puppy. It's so funny, you know, but that's really like that wonderful nurturer, because women, when they're at their best, I believe they're natural nurturers and givers of life. And so you want a woman that will give you life. Also, if she's a little smarter than you, that's okay. You know, that doesn't take anything away from you. That makes you better. That makes her a great co-pilot for everything that you're trying to do. But you must also support her in what she's trying to do. And then but that love, if it's a good woman, that love will be reciprocated. And so that's just my little, 2 cents for guys out here, because I've seen that. I think I was talking to somebody the other day who was saying that her husband had I know what it was. I was talking to a woman who told me that her husband had a really hard time with the fact that she was becoming really successful and really well known, and he gets resentful when people recognize her and they don't acknowledge him. And I said, "Ooh, that's going to be tough." And I wish I could talk to the guy, because I would probably tell him, like, look, your wife is shining her light, and if you support that, she's going to really, really become endeared to you, because she's going to want that and need that support, and it's going to come in handy for her. But if you're sitting back like the resentful little angry bitch, she's going to start to feel disconnected from you. And next thing you know, she's going to be dating some guy who can really handle all of that, right? So ultimately, I would almost say to men, when you're looking for a woman, I think the criteria would be intelligence, a good person, somebody that will hang with your mama and not start a fight, unless it's necessary. Hopefully she won't start the fight. Maybe she'll finish it, but she don't got to start it. And then somebody that can just kind of help you as you go off and you're fighting your battles. You can actually feel safe with her. And that's also, so that puts the burden of responsibility on the ladies too. You got to be able to be that woman. And a lot of women aren't trained to be that woman. But the thing is, there are books out there you can read. I learned a lot about women by reading books by Dr. Barbara DeAngelis. She wrote a book called What Women Want Men to Know. And I read this book when I was 32 years old, and it changed my life because it allowed me to understand the mind of a woman. I didn't understand. I'm a man. I don't think like women. So I read through it, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. In fact, it was so fascinating to me that I literally called my female friends and said, this can't be true. There's no way. And so she would list like 20 things that turn women on, 20 things that turn women off. And I was reading down the list, and I don't remember what was on the list. It was like, she's turned on because your socks are clean. It was like, not exactly, but it was something weird where I was like, is this really true? And I called my friend. She's like, oh yeah, that's definitely true. Oh, I love it when my boyfriend does it. I'll be like, this is weird to me. This doesn't make any sense. Men, we're a little different. It's like, okay, big butt and a smile, you good, right? Women are more complex. So I think men who want to understand women should read books like that. And then women who want to understand men should read books like that, especially if you didn't grow up with a man in the house. If you didn't grow up with a man in the house to balance you and help you understand how to deal with a man, then you're going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage. But you can fix that by studying and learning, but you won't fix it if you're arrogant about it. Like if you see things from your perspective and that's it, and you can't possibly empathize with another point of view that doesn't make sense to you, then you're going to lose. Because what's going to happen is somebody's going to say, I think the sky is blue. And you're going to say, no, it's purple. And next thing you know, you're going to be fighting, even though both of you might be right from your own point of view. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I didn't mean to go into the whole relationship thing, but it was just something that was on my mind. And I just appreciate the black woman next to me. And I think we should just show appreciation to black women, period. So anyway, let me talk more about this job thing. So if you go back to the video, what this older brother was saying, this guy, 62 years old, never had a job, Marlon Jackson, that was the video I just showed you. A few things he mentioned. One, he mentioned the emasculation of the black male that takes place when he cannot find a job. You've been trained like the princess from coming to America. You've been trained to serve the prince, and that's it. And then when the prince rejects you, you don't know what to do with yourself. Well, that's where that depression comes in. That's where the wino began. That's when you started getting the black men who sit around and do nothing but drink all day, because they're killing themselves. They're committing suicide. They're just committing suicide slowly, so you don't see it, but they're still committing suicide nonetheless. Now the other thing is he talked about time. Time is probably that was the surprise variable for me. Once I learned how to get off the plantation and I was working for myself, I was really surprised by the amount of free time I had to live life, to do all the things I never would have done if I was at work all day. You know, it reminded me of when I was little, and I remember one day staying home from school, and I was watching TV all day like kids do, and I was watching all these great shows that came on during the day when I wasn't at school. I was watching the Jeffersons and Good Times and all that. And I was like, man, like, it's like this whole reality is happening when you're at school. Well, at work, it's the same way. If you're at work all the time, you're missing a lot of stuff. You're missing the chance to spend more time with your kids. You're missing the chance to have conversations with your mama before she gets old and dies. You know, God forbid, you're missing the chance to go to the gym so you can lose weight, whatever it is, right? So ultimately that time is really important. And I like the way he said, if my kids have something going on, I want to be there. I don't want to have to go ask permission. So what he's basically saying is two things. One, he's saying that, time with my children matters more than anything else. And I want to make sure I don't lose that to a corporation. Corporation cannot buy the time I was supposed to spend with my children. I'm not going to accept that. And then two, he said, I don't want to ask permission. So what he's basically doing is he's reclaiming his manhood. He's reclaiming his manhood, almost like when Jill Scott had that song for women. Women love that song, and men like it too. It's a great song, but I felt like it was more of a women's anthem. Remember, she's like, I'm taking my freedom, right? And everybody, and women are like, yeah, I'm taking my freedom, right? Well, the same thing's true with men. Like, I felt like with him, when he said the part about needing permission, when he said the part about, I don't want to ask you for permission. It's like I heard this theme that was saying, I'm a strong black man. I'm a proud black man. I'm taking my freedom. You're not going to take it from me. I'm not going to sell it to you. I'm not going to let you force me into a situation that I don't want to be in, because I need to make sure I can focus on what matters and what's valuable in my life. Next, he talked about, work and job. He talked about those as slave terms. And I thought that was fascinating. And what it made me think about is a lot of us think that to be a slave, you have to be unpaid. A lot of us think that to be a slave, you have to have a job where you're forced to do that job and you're not getting paid at all. That's not true. Actually, you could be a slave and be paid very well. There are lots of very high paid slaves. There are slaves that make $10 million a year. That's why they have the book, what is it, $40 million slave or $40 million? I think it was $40 million slave, written by William Roden. And so basically he was explaining why these athletes, a lot of them are slaves, and they're just making a lot of money, so you don't know that they're slaves. The other thing is he mentioned how his father had basically lost out because all he knew how to do was work in the steel mill. So when they took away the steel mill, his father didn't know what to do with himself. And what that is, that's an investing concept. When I'm teaching investing, in our stock market class, which if you want to check it out, it's theblackstockmarketprogram.com. One of the things that we talk about in the stock market program is basically the fact that everybody is an investor. Everybody is investing. You're investing right now because you're investing your time that you could be spending doing other stuff. You're investing the time by sitting here listening to me. Right? Because time is actually more valuable than money. Time is rarer than money. Time's harder to get than money. You can't get time back. You can get money back, but you can't get time back. So you're investing time right now listening to me. Well, why? Well, because you're thinking that by listening and you're hoping that by us engaging, you're going to benefit in some way. You're going to get what they call a positive ROI, positive return on investment. You're hoping that, because imagine if you came in here and you invested time to listen to me, and all I did was feed you a bunch of bullshit. I fed you a bunch of lies and nonsense and stupid stuff. Well, you wouldn't do it again. You'd be like, oh man, I was listening to Dr. Boyce, he's full of shit, right? But you're here because you concluded that the investment of time in this conversation is going to help you benefit in some other way. You're going to walk away more knowledgeable. Maybe you'll walk away more empowered. Maybe you'll walk away with a clearer vision. Maybe you'll walk away with the ability to share knowledge or build your community and your family. There's something that you're going to get that's going to be a positive return on investment. Well, one of the other concepts with investing is what they call diversification. Diversification is simple. Diversification just means not putting all your eggs in one basket. It means spreading it out so that you don't get fucked when that one investment goes bad. You understand? Your grandma told you this. Your grandma said, baby, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? You diversify so that if one thing that you're doing doesn't work out, you got a plan B and a plan C and a plan D. Right. And that's what they always talked about, to young brothers. They tell them, some of them listen, some of them don't, but they tell them, like, look, we know you think you're going to the NFL, the NBA, but you need a plan B, you need a plan C, you need a plan D. A lot of young black men don't have a plan B, plan C, or plan D. So when plan A does not work out, they're done. They're sitting at home, with busted knees, a steroid addiction or whatever, maybe they become alcoholics or whatever because they're 25 years old with a 5th grade reading level because they did not diversify. They put all their energy into all their eggs in that one athletic basket, and it did not work out. So ultimately, he's talking about his father made a bad investment decision with his life. He didn't diversify. And ultimately, when that one thing, that steel mill route that he chose over all other options he could have had, when that didn't work out, he was done, right? So ultimately, what he was saying is, I learned from watching my father, so I'm learning to keep my options open, to keep dipping and moving, because I'm not going to trust everything in my life to that white man. I'm not going to trust that white man at the steel mill to keep me whole. I'm not going to trust the oppressor who 100 years ago would have got with his relatives and came to my house and chopped my balls off in public. I'm not going to trust these people who've oppressed my people for 400 years to keep me complete, to make me feel like a man because he's giving me enough money to go feed my family. You understand? So ultimately, that is a simple investment decision. In fact, when I was, when I was sort of looking at, athletes and stuff like that, and I was reading stories about athletes that go broke, like poor Quentin Portis, who was literally about sitting outside his investment advisor's office about to murder him. He was literally called his boy and he said, I'm about to go in here and kill this motherfucker, because this guy had lost $10 million for him. When I heard that his investment advisor lost all his money, as a finance professor, remember, that's my PhD, I instantly knew that this investment advisor had screwed him, or he screwed himself, because the advisor broke fundamental rules of investing. He probably put most of his money in 2 or 3 investments instead of spreading it out to dozens or hundreds of investments to keep his money safe. He probably took all the money, put it into his cousin Benny's liquor store or something. And then when the business didn't work out, him and Benny walked away with some money, but the Quentin Portis got screwed. They come back to Quentin like, sorry, the investment didn't work out. But remember, they get these athletes with things like fees. There was an athlete that I talked to who plays for the Utah Jazz. And this brother told me, he said, when I signed my contract with my investment advisor, they had all these fees. And he said, they assume that athletes, that we don't read, we don't look at contracts. He said, I went through it line by line. I was like, I'm not paying this. I'm not paying this. I'm not paying this. And they were like, oh, we got a smart Negro here. He actually reads. So they dealt with him differently than they deal with the guy who's only focused on booties, bling, and just getting lit on Friday night. Right? That's why they distract you with that nonsense, because they don't want you to pay attention to the dollars and cents. So anyway, let me jump back in here and finish up and keep going, because I actually have a meeting pretty soon. So here's the thing about jobs, right? And I'll talk more about this a little bit later. And actually, before I move on to that, do me a favor real quick. Please hit that thumbs up button if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, please hit the share button, the subscribe button, things like that. Also, I'll be in Houston December 8th. Just another reminder, you can go to drboycehouston.com to find out more. That's drboycehouston.com. Last but not least, we actually have these Black History flashcards. So if you want to teach your child about Black economic history, we had experts kind of dig up a bunch of what we call melanated moguls, Black people who have achieved things economically. And we want these to be the first people your children are introduced to, rather than George Washington and Christopher Columbus. Basically, they're really good flashcards. You can go take a look. Feel free. Go to melanatedmoguls.com. That's melanatedmoguls.com. All right. So anyway, let me jump back in here and give you some stats about looking for a job and why I think spending your life looking for jobs is honestly a bunch of bullshit. Number one, it takes an average the average job has 118 applicants. Did you know that? That for every job, there's 118 applicants. To get a job, I wrote down some stats on this so you can kind of see where I'm coming from. You have to fill out about 10 to 20 job applications to get the job. And then you have to do a 10 to 15 job interviews in order to get that job. So what I did was and this is if you're white. This is if you're white. Now, if you're Black, you could probably just double all that shit. You know what I'm talking. If you've been Black and you've ever searched for a job, you know what I'm talking about. Yolanda Spivey did a really interesting experiment. It was on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. And she was filling out all these job applications on monster.com or one of those websites. And nobody was calling her back. All the white people, all the white companies were like, nah, we don't want to hire somebody named Yolanda, right? And so she said, I wonder what would happen if I was a white girl. So, you know what she did? She changed her name to Bianca White, right? Get it, White. And she changed her voicemail to sound like a white girl. And I think she even put up a random white girl's profile picture as her profile picture. Check this out. Within hours, Bianca White was getting all kinds of callbacks. Bianca White was getting all kinds of people inviting her in for interviews. Bianca White got all kinds of attention from all these corporations. Yolanda wasn't getting nothing. Yolanda wasn't getting anything, right? And that really is not even a smoking gun because that makes the assumption that you actually have to have an IQ over 50 to understand that racism is real in the job market, right? You know, I mean, it ain't rocket science. You know, it ain't calculus. We know the racism's real because you not only endure the racism before you get the job, but once you get the job, you go through even deeper amounts of shit because they've only selected you because they've identified you as the good Negro. You got your good nigga sticker, and you got to keep that shit in full effect. You got to renew your good nigga sticker license every single motherfucking day. Every single day you go to work, you have to renew your good nigga sticker. And the minute that it gets revoked, you will get slowly pushed out of the company, or you will get blackballed. You know, don't let them come to your Facebook page and see that you got a poster that says Black Lives Matter, or you know, I'm black and I'm proud, or a black fist. You're done. You're done. They're not gonna go look at any. Find me a black CEO of a white Fortune 500 company who would be willing to put a black fist or a Black Panther tribute on their Facebook page. You show me that right now, and I'll give you whatever amount of money's in my pocket. It ain't much, because I'm not a gambling man. But y'all know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm saying. Go test them. Go do the research. You're not gonna see, you know, any black person who has achieved elevation in a white supremacist system really go out and be noticeably and identifiably, unapologetically, and really confrontationally black. And not to the point where you're ready to fight everybody, but to the point where you're really ready to express black love, be black, buy black, think black. They wouldn't wear a t-shirt like this. What the fuck? They wouldn't wear this. You know, even people like Stacey Abrams and Gilliam and all, they can't wear shirts like this. They can't. They can't. You're not allowed. You're a child. They tell you, no, put it down. Put that. You better take that t-shirt off. Right? They can't do that. They're not allowed. And so ultimately, by the way, if you're on Instagram, I'm gonna bring you guys right back. It only goes for an hour. So I'm gonna just end it and bring you guys right back. Actually, while I'm bringing the Instagram back, please hit that thumbs up button real quick for me, please. Give me 1 second. I'm bringing my friends on Instagram back. Hold on. Instagram always ends after an hour. They need to just let it keep going. I don't know why they be hating like that. Give me a second. Okay. All right, I'm hitting the start video button. Okay. So at the end of the day, you know, you got to decide, like, do you want to be a man or do you want to be a child? Do you want to be a grown ass woman or do you want to be a little girl? You know, and I'll tell you, when you're living under somebody else's roof, you don't get to call the shots. You don't get to be the boss. You don't get to be the leader. You don't get to be the one in charge. You will respond to other people. And so what I loved about Marlon, what I loved about what this brother did, what he said to me in that car, was that I said, okay, there you go. That's a real man. I don't care how much money he's making. I don't care how much validation he's gotten. I don't care how many awards he has or has not received. I don't care how many degrees he got. None of that. I respected that man more than I respect any doctor, lawyer, professor, MBA that I've ever met in my life. I just really thought that this man really had it figured out. And I think that a lot of us can learn from that. And that's why I put that video up. And I'm really happy that hundreds of thousands of black people saw that video, because he deserved that kind of support. He deserved validation, not from white folks. He would get, if he had gotten on his knees and tickled a white man's balls, he would be getting validation from white folks. But instead, he stood strong and did the right thing. And so he's getting his validation from his community, which is a safer place to get your validation from. Right? So what we have to do is we have to understand what black success really looks like. Instead of celebrating the Negro who got hired by white folks, you know, like I'm Mr. Black film director and white people love my movie so much that I made $50 million and got an Oscar. That's nice. Good for you. Like, we hope that your white friends take good care of you, but you ain't a real hero to our community, because we know in that environment, you can't really represent us the way you want to. Like, I really think the next step in black intelligence, the next step in black self-esteem has to be literally, we need to go from being the mistress to being the housewife. We need to go from being the side chick to being the main chick. We need to go from being the redheaded stepchild to being the actual biological child. You need to say my name, motherfucker, if you want to act like you're a part of me. If you want to really be a part of my community, you need to say my name. If you can't say my name, if you can't say black, if you can't talk about building black, buying black, being black, thinking black, developing the Black community. If you can't say my name, then you are not my friend. You are no different in my mind from the kid who goes to high school and who's ashamed of his little brother because the cool kids think his little brother's a nerd. So when his little brother comes down the hallway, he acts like his little brother ain't there, or he bullies his little brother, or he ignores his little brother and hurts his little brother's feelings because he's trying to impress some kids that don't actually matter. He's trying to impress the asshole bully by being a jerk and neglecting his family instead of saying, you know what, I don't care if y'all like me or not. This is my brother. This is my family. This is where I live. If you can't accept me as a member of my own family and is connected to my family, then I don't want to be your friend at all. That's a whole different level of thinking. Most of us aren't trained on that. And I think that that's what we need to train our children on, because we will win this game. Some of y'all are going to definitely win this game because you're already preparing your children for that line of thinking right now. So anyway, I got to go. I'm 12 minutes late for a meeting. I hope that this was helpful to you. I'm going to take off my Black Finance Professor hat now because I'm sweating out the hat now because I get all elevated when I'm talking. So do this again before you go. If there's a thumbs up button, the like button, or a share button, please share it. Find your relatives if you can. If you want to help out with all this, find somebody. If you got a social media page, a YouTube channel, anywhere, share this video, talk about it, give a response to the video if you want to. You know, and if you want to use the hashtag Dr. Boyce Watkins, every now and then I'll look at the hashtag and I'll see, you know, your stuff. If you want to put pictures up, if you want to put video up of your kids reciting financial concepts, all of that, feel free to use that hashtag Dr. Boyce Watkins and just share your stuff. And if I like something, I'll share it. I'll push it out there too. You know, if I love what you're doing with your business, I'll share that too. I want to see you win. We got enough people out here that are business minded that we can create probably 50,000 Black businesses in this generation. Some of those are going to become multi-million and multi-billion-dollar companies. So we have to sort of understand what the long-term play is in this. And I believe that that's going to be the key to our freedom. The key, though, is that freedom is almost like harvesting crops out of a field. To harvest crops out of a field, you can't just wish them there. You can't just pray to white Jesus and hope that they're there. You can't just wait for the white man to come and plant those fields for you. You got to plant the seeds yourself, and you got to nurture those seeds, water those seeds, and make those seeds grow. The seeds for you are your children. The seeds for you are your family. The seeds are what you're doing right now, because that's going to have a harvest, a massive harvest in the next 20, 30, 40 years. And it's really going to flip the game. So let's flip the game, Black people. Let's do it. Let's do it big. Let's make it happen. Once again, I'm out of here, guys. I'm going to be in Houston December 8th. If you want to come out, go to drboycehouston.com. The tickets are donation only. So if your money's ain't right, that's fine. You can still come. But we have also VIP tickets. So if your money is right, if your money is okay, and you're making it rain on white folks, like you're going to the mall shopping in Black Friday, we're hoping that you'll go ahead and buy a ticket for this event as well. It's on an honor system, but we hope that everybody will be honorable and support what we're trying to do, because we're really trying to help people. Also, if you want your kids to join our Black Business School for Children, we have two main options. One is the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, which has the 3 major courses in it. One covers the basics of money. The other covers stock and bond investing, and the other covers investing in general as a generalized concept to understand what it means to be an investor, producers versus consumers, stuff like that. Also, when your child goes through the material, they can actually get a degree from the Black Business School, and what happens is they can actually get a certificate for every single program they complete, right, by going through all the videos, right? And this is important for their self-esteem. They can put this up on their wall. It'll be, I guarantee you, if they put it on their wall now, it'll be on their wall 25 years from now. So if you want to go check that out, you can go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. There's a 75% discount on a lifetime membership right now for Christmas. So feel free to go check that out, blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. The other option is the entrepreneurship program. This is focused solely on those who want their children to be business owners, who want to build businesses, things like that. That is blackceofactory.com, blackceofactory.com. We cover operating agreements, LLCs, what basically limited liability, like elevator pitches, all these things that you need to know to think like an entrepreneur. And I believe that that's really, really important. So feel free to check that out too at blackceofactory.com. That's blackceofactory.com. Okay, I'm out of breath. I'm done. I hope that this helps you guys. And I want to say thank you again. I see the mods. I see Dual Victory and Vicky Dillard and a few other people in here. And I love you and I appreciate you guys so much. And I'm going to tell you, every Black man who has Black women at his back can always go to war and know that he's going to win that victory in that battle. Because I don't roll with fake women. I roll with real women. And because I was raised by real women. And a lot of y'all got real women in your life. And I need you to go find one. I need you to go thank her for everything that she does. And also, same thing, ladies, if you got a real man in your life, thank him, exalt him, support him, because we need to support each other. That's really, really important. All right, guys. So I'm out of here. Have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Be good.